Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I'm back for another Access Unlocked video. Haven't done one of these for a while, but this is actually one I've been meaning to get around to for a bit now, and I thought today would be an appropriate time. So happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day. That's when this video is going to be released. We are going to be taking a look at a title called Unheard. It is available for PC right now. And Access Unlocked is a series, if you're new to the channel, where I take a look at a game or a game genre or a game concept, something that just seems especially interesting, and to where I think that I have some ideas on how to make it more accessible to a blind and or visually impaired audience. So Unheard is a really interesting game, actually. I found out about it a couple months ago. I did a Mixer live stream on it a few weeks back, a month or two ago, and it was a lot of fun. I haven't beat it yet, but I'm a few cases in. Unheard is a kind of mainly an audio detective game. Basically, you're this kind of futuristic crime-solving unit thing. You're given this tablet, and using this tablet, you're moving this little icon around an environment, and you're trying to listen to everything that's going on around you in this environment to solve these different crimes. So yes, the game is played visually, and currently you do need vision to play it, but the thing is, 90% of what you're doing is listening to the audio and piecing things together based on who is this person, who is that person, what did they do, what is their alibi. You're trying to solve a few questions for each case, which we'll get into very shortly. And, just hearing the idea, when I saw the trailer, I knew I had to try the game. And when I tried the game, I'm thinking, this is awesome. And when I streamed it, I had a couple of people watching, and I know at least one of them was totally blind or very close. And they could follow along with what was going on, but I still had to control the game because, like I said, there would be no way that they would be able to play it independently in its current form. So we're going to take a look at how to basically make a concept like this more accessible to screen reader or blind users. So Unheard, this is not going to be a typical spotlight video. It's not going to be kind of a let's play. This is where we're just going to explore what it might take to make something like Unheard more accessible. So we're going to resume where we are. Okay, so here we are. This is the main interface. This is the way your games play out. The main area of the screen is kind of almost like a blueprint, overhead blueprint style of the environment that you are in. In this case, we're in a police station. You see that the left room is lit up here. We've got a couple of circles here. And this tiny little thing over here, this is me. If I right click, I can just move myself around freely. And I could move into here. Now we're in the main police station. We've got a big old desk thing in there. We've got some offices down in the middle. We've got an office and stuff up in the top. We've got some bathrooms on the right. Let's head back out to the lobby. Find my mouse here. There we go. Head back out to the lobby. So that's the main screen. And you see that there are circles right now. There are names on them. That's because so far when I played this before, I figured out who those people were, which is a huge part of the mechanics in this game, which I'll get to again in a second. So that's your main area. And then down below you have your timeline. You got your play pause, your volume, your replay, your time slider. You've got a little thing actually where you can take notes if you want to. You can put little notes on the timeline as you're trying to figure things out. And then in the upper right, you have your names. So you have, in this case, we have 12 different people, which is way more than I have had in previous cases. And one of the objectives in a lot of these things is to figure out who is who, and then follow them around to figure out what is exactly going on in this case, so you can solve what happened. Which leads me to the lower right-hand corner. This is our objectives for this particular case. In this case, we have 3 questions. I think before I've had 2 questions in each one. So let me just see here. We have 3 questions right now. In this case, we have who brought the bomb, who detonated the bomb, and who is Raven. And down below in the right-hand corner, we have an answer button there. So that is our interface. That is the interface for Unheard. And right now, everything either has to be done with the mouse primarily. You do have a little bit of keyboard control via play pause with the space bar, and you can scrub through the audio with the left and right arrow, which is good. But to be able to follow along with somebody, maybe I want to sit in, let's say, like in the upper right here, this might be, or the upper middle, might be like a manager's office. You know, maybe we want to sit there the whole time and listen to him first on the first playthrough. Then, you know, maybe we want to go hear what's happening in the general police station area. Then we want to hear, you know, oh, there's people sneaking into the bathroom. Maybe that's where they're going to make get the bomb in there and somebody get it so they can detonate it, whatever. You know, I already have some ideas. But if you're a totally blind user, you're not able to do that because you won't be able to see this little icon here, and you won't be able to move it around. You won't be able to figure out where each of these people are going in the environment. So, I'm going to start by saying, like, right now we're doing this on the PC. This is a game that would also, I think, work very, very well on mobile. You could definitely put some headphones on and play this on a touchscreen, like on an iPad. And I'm going to start there, and then we'll circle back around to PC, because putting this on iOS, let's say, could be really cool. And with the way that Apple's built-in screen reader VoiceOver works, there's some really neat potential on how to make this work. Now, I don't know, here's the other thing, is I don't know if this is built in Unity or Unreal or its own engine. If it is built on Unity, especially on iOS, on mobile, there is the Unity Accessibility plugin. And it's taken games like Crafting Kingdom, and there's a point-and-click adventure game called Frequency Missing. I'm going to put a link to in the description below this video. They took a visual point-and-click adventure game. You have character options for dialogue. You have collecting items and using them in different places. You know, you have you're in basically a, you know, you have these 3D environments sort of thing. You know, they're pretty simple as far as, like, you know, I think if I remember correctly, they're mainly static environments, but they have interactable things in them. And you're taking a primarily visual point-and-click interface, and it was totally playable, and it really made sense using a screen reader like VoiceOver. I did a video on Frequency Missing. So there's this Unity plugin that can kind of bridge, because right now Unity and other game development engines like that and Unreal don't have native screen reader and assistive technology support built in. I'm hoping that changes soon. But until then, we do have some of these plugins starting to be developed. The Unity Accessibility plugin, for one. And you can make your game that's primarily visual, you can make that work. So, let's say that I'm playing this on an iPad to start with. And I'm using VoiceOver. Now, VoiceOver has some unique navigation gestures that can make navigating an interface like this, I think, pretty intuitive. One of the main ones being the rotor. And the rotor, you're basically turning your fingers like a dial, like an analog radio dial, to jump between different things. Like I want to move by character, by word, by line, by heading, link, anything like that. But you could make a custom rotor for a game like this. And so let's say when I change rotor, when I change rotor elements, I could navigate by person, by room, by overall sections of the UI. So I would have the map. I'm trying to think what I would call that rotor element, because I'd have room, character, interface, let's say, or interface or navigation, and I could jump between names, timeline, map, and objectives. Okay, so now that we've identified those rotor elements or rotor types, now if I want to, I could quickly jump to the map. I could quickly jump to my timeline or my objectives and read what they are. I could quickly jump to my names and see who all the names I'm going to have to identify are. But then, so in the main map, that's where most of our activity is going to be taking place. And we have these circles here, like we're in the lobby right now, and we have a couple of circles up here right now. And if I were to play, you're going to see that some of them, when they talk, they'll have like a little like little audio waves popping out of them, like, oh, hey, they're talking. And so I'm going to hit play right now. I'm going to hit spacebar.
Hello, Sergeant. May I please have my phones back?
Name?
Dwight.
Ellen.
So I'm going to pause it here. So right now, he asked, the guy behind the counter asked for that guy's name, and the guy said Dwight. So in this case, I would click on that circle, and then I would go up to the right here and go click on Dwight, and it would put the Dwight name, because otherwise they're just little hollow circles. There's no name in them. So you got to find out who is who so you can follow them. So we've named these. When I played this before, I've named these people. So let's say that I flick my rotor to person. And what I would probably do is I would say, okay, we have 12 people. I would give them all numbers. So we have person 1, person 2, all the way up to person 12. So let's say that Dwight is person 1. Well, to start with, he might just be person 1. Okay. And if we focus on him, when he would talk, maybe VoiceOver can indicate to us speaking or talking. And then I could pause it, and then I would hear somebody else talk, and then I would hear him talk again, and he would say Dwight. I'm like, aha, I know who that is. So now, when I'm focused on him, I could maybe double tap on him, and that would bring me, when I double tap on a person, it would automatically take me to this names area, in which I could flick up and down, or it would be like an item, or maybe it would just pop up an item or like a chooser in iOS, and I could flick up and down and say, that guy's Dwight, and then tap and boom, we're done. We've identified him. Now we could say, instead of saying person 1, it could say 1 Dwight, because you still want to have the number there, because maybe you made a mistake, and maybe like in the first case in this game, that was their whole point. They were trying to trick you into thinking, okay, you've got these two brothers, these two twins, are these brothers, and you're trying to figure out, this brother who you thought was this guy is actually this guy. So you still want to have the numbers in case you made a mistake. So now you would have 1 Dwight, and then you flick to person 2. Well, we don't know who they are yet, so they're just person 2. And that's how you could name them. Now, if you were, let's say I focused on Dwight, and I just listened to his conversation, but a couple minutes into this recording, he went and he moved into the main police station to do something. So as long as I'm focused on him, you would hear the footsteps, and it would just automatically move the focus. It would move your little guy. You kind of would maybe, your thing would be kind of attached to the person at that point, and then I could hear him walking into wherever he's walking. And when you enter a new room, maybe it could say, entering police lobby, or entering manager's office. So that way you would know when you're switching rooms, you would know where your locked on character is moving to. Okay? So that's how you could solve some of the people problem. You could explore by touch, and I could drag my finger, and it would say lobby. When I move down here, it would say like office, bathroom, bathrooms, cubicles. So you would physically get an idea of the police station, but it would still be too hard to follow if you couldn't see where the circles were moving. So that's why you have with the rotor element, you lock onto a person, you could follow them. Or I switch to the room thing and say, I just want to concentrate this playthrough of the audio. I want to just hear what's in the manager's office. So we're just going to sit in the manager's office, and whoever is in there, whoever goes in and out, goes in and out, and you hear that. So, maybe you're in there, nobody's in there to start with, and then all of a sudden you hear person five entering, or you maybe just hear, person 5 entering. And then person 7 comes in. Okay, person 7 leaves. So just getting those kind of indications of like what is actually happening. And those are just basically locations. You're going over a certain, a certain threshold, like the door of a room, and say when somebody crosses it, announce it, just like how many chat programs announce when somebody's entering or leaving a chat room. So when you're listening into a room, you would be able to navigate that way. So we've kind of identified, ways to track both a person and navigate your way around the police station. Now, if I wanted to as well, if I'm exploring by touch, and let's say there's this office right here where my mouse is, I could double tap on that office after it tells me that, and then boom, I could switch my focus to that office. So we've already figured out a way to name people. We've already figured out how to follow somebody. We figured out how to get around to different areas of the environment, in this case, the police station. Play pause, you could either have a play pause button somewhere on the screen, and you could probably use the magic tap, your 2-finger double tap, to play pause. And then you could also have, you could either physically find your slider and do what you would do on any audio slider, where you double tap and hold, and then you move left and right to kind of scrub across your audio timeline. Or you could also, for quick access, maybe you have a specific gesture, maybe a 2 or 3 finger flick right in that app to rewind or fast forward. Maybe you add that extra convenience. So on the touch screen, especially with the interesting, especially with the rotor stuff that VoiceOver has, I think making this interface would actually work really well. So then if I wanted, and now I've followed the people, I've replayed the thing a few times, now I think I know what's going on, and I want to answer things. So now I could, switch my rotor to interface, or what else did I call it? Interface, or whatever I said earlier, interface, or whatever you want to call it, each one of these chunks of the game screen. And then I want to go over to the objectives area, or I could just explore by touch, and I know that the answer button is in the lower right hand corner. So I double tap on that, and then it'll pop up a question. It'll say, who do you think did it? So if I right now, if I hit answer, it pops up a separate dialog, and it says I have 3 questions, and I've got 3 little combo boxes. So I could just double tap on that. It would pop open a little drop down or a chooser, whatever you want, however you wanted to do it, because VoiceOver can read drop down boxes, no problem. And I would just, who planted the bomb, who did it, blah, blah, blah. There you go. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have a clue. We're going to cancel.
No can do.
Oh, okay. So it played the audio again. So that's, again, on touchscreen, I think that would be actually pretty darn intuitive to make this work. Now on a computer, I think it would largely be the same. You don't necessarily have a rotor type system on most screen readers. Now, if you do on the Mac, I guess you would, but on a PC screen reader, if you're using JAWS or NVDA or System Access, you don't really have that. But you do have a keyboard, which has lots and lots of buttons on it. And so you could probably find a fairly intuitive way to do something similar with the keyboard that I just described via the touchscreen. So, right now we already have play pause with the space bar.
Go in case. So, you'll have to follow procedure.
But they're mine. All right.
So I can rewind with the left arrow.
What do I need to do?
Who told you to come here? Ask them to write you a release form.
An officer named Jessica.
I can
Just an
rewind.
officer named Jessica.
I can fast forward.
Officer Schrader, you working the night shift tonight?
So there we go. We got the rewind, fast forward, play pause. The main thing that we'd have to figure out with the keyboard, like I said, with the Mac, you actually could use the rotor because VoiceOver for Mac also uses the rotor concept. So translating this to a Mac would actually be easier if you already did the iOS version, because it's basically the same type of controls, just using the trackpad or the keyboard, because you can do with either on the Mac. But on the PC, where our screen readers don't have the rotor thing as much, there could be ways where, again, I could tab through the different major areas. So I could tab between the map, the timeline, the names, and the objectives parts of the screen. Jumping to a room. Maybe you could hit R, and then I'm trying to think whether you'd want to have, I don't know if you were using this on a keyboard, I don't know if you would want totally full, right now, again, I can right click my mouse and I can move anywhere freely. I could stand, right now I'm in the lobby now, or I'm in the main police station, but I could stand right here by the corner of this office, or I could stand right close to this desk. So, do I want to be able to freely move around with the screen reader, and I could just use my arrow keys to do that? You could. But like I said, maybe if I wanted to navigate rooms, I could hit R, and then maybe that would bring up a list of rooms that I could quickly jump to. So then I could up and down arrow to, I want to go to lobby, I want to go to manager's office, men's bathroom, woman's bathroom, cubicles, office 2, office 3, whatever. You just name them however you want to name them. You might be able to do that. People, maybe, again, maybe I could hit the letter P, and then it would basically pop open a list of people, and I could arrow up and down. I could say person 1, person 2, all the way through person 12 in this case. And then, I could have a separate hotkey. Like maybe, so let's say I choose person 1, and that was Dwight. If I hit enter on Dwight, like if I hit P, I focus on Dwight, the game will just follow him, just like I would on iOS when we were talking about the rotor. It would just follow him throughout the whole timeline. If I hit enter on Dwight, then it could pop me to the names, and I could arrow through them and say, instead of being person 1, I could hit enter and go, aha, I know he's Dwight. Then I'll arrow down to Dwight, hit enter again. Boom. Now it'll say 1, Dwight. So you're just doing it a different way. But I think you could still make this intuitive. I think you could still make this pretty easy. If I just wanted to see the names and not necessarily assign the names to anybody, I could hit the letter N, and then I could just arrow through and listen to the names of, in this case, the 12 people that we have. So then, again, I could either choose, do I want to pop back to a room with R, I could arrow down and hit arrow to whatever room I wanted, hit enter, and then boom, I would pop into that room and just listen. If I wanted to hit P for person, again, arrow down to the person, hit enter, and then I would be following that person until either I named him or just to listen to his whole performance again, whatever. So even with the keyboard, even if you don't have something like the rotor, like I said, I think you could still make this work. And the reason I'm still focusing on this game is, like I said, 90% or more of this is just listening. It's, it's kind of like an audio drama that you're just kind of interactive, kind of interactive theater. You're not just sitting there listening to something in front of you. You're actually actively moving around the play space and actually trying to follow people and eavesdrop and listen to people in different rooms and such. So, I mean, really, and then I could hit, like I said, I could keep hitting tab and get to the objectives, or I could hit O for objectives, and then I would be able to up and down arrow and listen to the choices. I could hit A for answer, and then it would boom, pop up the box that we showed earlier. Again, if I go click on it, I could hit A, this would pop up, and this is just a regular dialog box. I would hit, we'd land on this one here, who brought the bomb. I could open up my little combo, choose my person, hit tab. Here's my next one, who detonated it. Arrow up and down and choose a person. Tab, do this. I could tab, and we got our cancel, we got our submit, and then boom. So like I said, if you plan it out right, I think this is totally could be made accessible. Whether you're doing it with the self-voicing something in the game, or you're using whatever existing screen reader the person has, be it NVDA, System Access, JAWS, VoiceOver, whatever, or just just general SAPI 5, like a Windows 10 voice or something. So that is just kind of an overview of how I think a game like this could be made accessible. And like I said, because it's so primarily audio-based, it's kind of a shame that it isn't accessible to blind and low vision. Well, low vision I can play, but it isn't accessible to blind players. It's kind of like there's a lot of other there's a lot of other games, mainstream games in the last few years that have featured blind protagonists. But the problem is, it's a visual representation of blindness, and despite featuring a blind character who, hey, a blind player would want to play that, unfortunately they haven't been able to. So there's some irony there somewhere. It's a blind character, yet I'm blind and I can't play the game. That kind of sucks. But so again, similar type of deal. This is really focused on audio. I think given a little bit of work, and like I said, I think I pretty much both on a keyboard and a touchscreen. I think, and hell, you could actually, if you're using a Bluetooth keyboard, you just have the same sort of, P for person, R for room, N for name. You could tab around. You could do that on a Bluetooth keyboard on iOS or something too, or Android, whatever. So, assuming we can figure out a way to get the framework, like I said, either a Unity plugin or however you would make the speech part work with the game itself, I think that it could work. And again, take a look at the link to the video that I did for Frequency Missing, an iOS point-and-click adventure game that, again, you don't have to sacrifice playability. You don't have to necessarily sacrifice your visual fidelity or your visual intent, your artistic intent. You don't have to sacrifice that, as long as you kind of just think about, an intuitive way, an alternative way for somebody to access and play your game. So I hope you guys found this helpful. I am really enjoying this game, and I would love for other totally blind players to be able to play something like this too, because it's pretty cool. This is Unheard. It is available on Steam right now. I don't necessarily know about other platforms, but I could see it working really well on mobile, actually. So again, I will have a link in the description for the Mixer archive that I did for this game if you want to just kind of see me playing it for a while. I will also have a link to that Frequency Missing if you want to check that out. Again, how somebody made a visual point-and-click game work on mobile pretty effectively. I think it worked really, really well. So, again, if you are the developer, you're watching this, and if you're interested in trying to figure out how to make this work, definitely let me know. You can find my contact information on the About tab of my channel. I'll have my email, my Twitter, all that kind of stuff is there. Definitely feel free to contact me. And if you are just another a game developer and you just want to find out a way to make your game more compatible, that work better with blind or low vision, including VR, please let me know. Again, contact information is in the About tab of the channel. Email, Twitter, direct message, whatever. Please feel free to contact us or contact me. Like I said, if you are thinking of including accessibility features in your game, definitely reach out to the people. Like if you want to make it more accessible to blind players, reach out to us. If you are trying to make it more accessible to someone who has limited mobility or a hearing impairment, reach out to those people as well. Because, like I said, making assumptions about, oh, well, I think this is how it would work, and this is, if you're not necessarily familiar with that, if you don't have any firsthand or secondhand experience, working with people with those types of disabilities, it's easy to make assumptions about what might work. And in theory, it might work really well, but in practice, it may not be all that efficient or may not work very well, because I've looked at programs and web pages. I've kind of done some testing for some things where, technically, yes, you could get around it. Technically, it did read. Technically, it did work, but it was just not intuitively designed, and so getting around it efficiently was an exercise in futility, and it was actually really difficult. So, again, reach out to the audiences that you're trying to reach. We'll be glad to help, answer any questions, test, whatever. Like I said, I'm open for consulting gigs. If you're interested, hit me up, let me know. Hope you guys found this helpful. And you can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79 or mixer.com/BGFH. You can also follow me. You can go to illegally-cited.com. That's kind of my home base. I've got everything, the channel, my other projects. I've been on podcasts, any kind of accessibility presentations I've done. All that kind of stuff is there. So definitely check that out. And again, please get a hold of me. Please contact me if you are interested in doing some consulting, or have some questions, or do want a beta test or something, podcast interview, whatever, article interview, sure, whatever. I'm good. I'm game. So hope you guys found it helpful. Happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day 2019. Until next time, hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll chat with you guys again later.